This is the final video in this short series on attachment style, and I'm now going to tell you about the avoidant or the island personality. Now, this person, when you start to date them and they talk about their past relationship history, you will often hear one of two things. Either they have been single for a very long time and haven't had a relationship, or they've had many short relationships, so no kind of long-term relationships. Or if they have had a long-term relationship, they'll often describe it of one that was very disconnected. So they'll say, we were roommates, we did our own things, we kind of kept to ourselves. It was one really of practicality. We shared the rent, we raised children together, but we weren't really deeply connected as people. They also often describe their ex-partners as being very needy people, so they needed more time than they could give. They always were nagging them about doing more than they could do. Or they might even go to the extreme and say, my exes were really crazy and demanding of me, and portray them sort of as the villain in themselves, a bit as the victim when they describe past relationships. The avoidant personality is also somebody who needs a lot of distance from connection. So when you start dating and you're having a deep connection, you might observe them sort of acting quite rude, and it's their coping mechanism to sort of distance themselves from connection. So it could be seen as they might start looking around a restaurant to see what's going on at the table next to them or what's going on in the environment, or they may in the middle of a conversation just pull up their cell phone and start texting or something, and it can come across as really rude, and it's just their way of managing this anxiety that comes up when they start to get really personal and connected and vulnerable. So they need to create a bit of distance for themselves in order to manage that situation. The other thing is that avoidant people tend to have very strong boundaries. So this can show up in many different ways. They can say that no really strongly, like I don't want to do that. Single parents, you'll often hear them say things like, I will not introduce you to my children until we've been together for at least a set amount of time, whether that's 6 months or a year. And they'll also say that my kids will always come first. This is a great way of sort of setting the scene for when they need to distance themselves from the relationship. They can say, my kids really need me, I need to take a break and focus on my children for a few days, a few weeks, whatever that may be, and just sort of pull back from the relationship. The other thing about the avoidant or island personalities, they tend to have idealistic relationship views and partners. So if you ask them what they're looking for in a partner, what they'll describe is often so unrealistic that you could never find that kind of person. So it keeps them safe in a bit of a bubble that they don't have to really go into that relationship. So when they describe their ideal partner, it will be so perfect that no matter who they meet, they might be able to find issues with that person. Now you can see a little bit, if you've watched the video on the anxious, the dynamic that happens when the avoidant is looking for perfection and the anxious person is looking for that deep connection and wanting to connect deeper, that you already have this sort of dynamic of one chases and the other one kind of goes away, because the anxious person needs that real deep connection, and the avoidant's trying to manage their own anxiety by stepping back from that connection. A really common thing that you'll notice about the distant or island personality attachment style, is that they tend to avoid any kind of commitment. So you will hear them say things like, I don't believe in marriage, or I don't believe in putting a label on a relationship, I don't believe in exclusivity. They will want to just live in the moment, and they'll say, yeah, let's just enjoy the time we have together. Why do we need to worry about what's going to happen in the future? Let's just be now, be present, which sounds really great, but this is all sort of their language that they will often use to cover up their fear of commitment. Generally, because the island person wants to keep to themselves, they have this need to sort of conserve their resources, whether that's money or time, energy, whatever it is. They're trying to conserve their resources. So you will feel that they are very private people. They don't share very willingly. You can even ask them questions about personal things and you'll feel like it's kind of like pulling teeth, that they don't want to openly share a lot of private information. They may also say that they don't have memories. If you ask them about their childhood, they say, I don't remember so much about it. And that's just a way of not having to go into a vulnerable space and share something that's very private. So I hope this has given you a good initial overview of the anxious attachment. I'm happy to do some further videos if you want to learn more and have questions about the attachment style.